This is Capital Games. I am the Wiz. So today, I'm going to talk about Multiversus. If you remember what Multiversus is, around 9 months ago, June of last year, Multiversus is the free-to-play game that is a Smash Brothers-like fighting game, but with WB characters, such as Batman, Superman, Harley Quinn, the Scooby-Doo gang. Yeah, and it's more of a 2v2 Smash-like than it is a 1v1. So that was that kind of draw to it. So it was like a 2v2 Smash-like that you can play that's a little more strategic than Smash was in that aspect. Why are we talking about Multiversus today? Well, there have been some stories going around with Multiversus a couple months ago specifically that the crowd that's been playing Multiversus is pretty unhappy. First off, the way that you would gain certain things in the game, such as costumes and stuff like that, they nerfed the XP gain in that, so it was a lot harder to actually gain those items, which made people very unhappy when they did that. On top of that, it was reported that, specifically with Steam, that the current player count for Multiversus dropped a whopping 99% when it came to the amount of people who were playing Multiversus on PC. Now, when that was announced, I kind of speculated that it might not have been, it sounds bad, don't get me wrong, but it might not have been that bad because maybe the console players were a lot bigger and we didn't know the numbers that were for the console players as well. So I was, that's bad, don't get me wrong, but maybe there were more console players playing the game than PC at that point. So that's what I was thinking when I heard that announcement too. So yeah, again, not great to hear. It's definitely bad to a certain extent, but I thought maybe that the console had a much more healthier player base that was playing the game. Well, the reason why we're talking about it today is that it was announced by Player First Games, the people who are developing Multiversus, that in about 90 days they are going to be pulling the game off of the marketplace. And then they're going to be shutting off all the online features and the store. And what they're saying is they're taking it out of open beta. Apparently, this was an open beta client that they're having for Multiversus, which I didn't know that at the beginning. I thought this was being released, but they're claiming it's an open beta that they're doing in this one. So, in a message released on Monday, Player First Games co-founder and game director Tom Hine said the studio plans to bring the game back in early 2024. So what they're going to do, according to this article from VGC, is they are going to pull the game off shelves, and you're not going to be able to play the game online with other people. If you've already downloaded the client, you can still play it offline, but you wouldn't be able to play against other people online, basically, and then you wouldn't be able to download the client after next month, apparently, in this one. So they are going to be shutting off all the online mode features. Will be unavailable after the downtime in June, with a planned release out of open beta for next year. So they're not updating the game. They're not doing any kind of new content. In fact, when they're not doing the new content, they're not allowing anybody to play it online for minimum 6 months, starting June of this year. It's not unusual that they are not updating the game. I played a game called Gwent, where when they went from open beta to full release, it took them over a year to go from that point. They didn't update the game, they didn't do anything different with it, they just kept it the way it was in that state until it was time to get it out of open beta. So this is not, that aspect is not new. That is something that is, I guess, kind of common. Maybe not common, but I've seen it before. What's odd in this one is that they're turning the game off and some of the features off, such as the online multiplayer and a bunch of features in the game, I believe including the store. That's where that is odd in this case. So if you already have cosmetics in the game, you might as well want to get it downloaded onto your system now, because if you don't, by the time June rolls around, you won't be able to actually get them to be usable. What's going to happen basically, next month, you won't be able to download the client, but for the next 2 months, you'll be able to play the game online with other people. After June, the online is turned off, so is the store, and all you can do is play against other people locally. And I gotta say, that is really shitty. that is terrible in this case, because a lot of people were playing this game online. Apparently the netcode's pretty good, so it played very well, and a lot of people who were playing it were playing with their friends online with their purchases. When you do this, you can't take those purchases and bring them with you in a local setting. You're stuck with those purchases locally on that point. Unless you've downloaded and you've unlocked every character, you're kind of stuck with a game that is pretty useless, because there's really no single player content in this game either. It's all multiplayer. The announcement makes it seem like, oh, well, you know, you can play it locally. There really aren't any modes for local play, except for maybe a couple of modes. It's a really shitty move when it comes to player-first games and shutting down this game while it's on quote-unquote, while it's coming out of quote-unquote open beta. Again, something that I did not know until today that they were doing. So in this aspect, I'm kind of stunned they are doing this. They've also wanted to state pretty plainly that refunds will not be issued, because they are planning to release this later on down the road. The only date they've given is 2024. Well, it could be 6 months from June. It could be 12 months from June. It could be the end of 2024, which would be about 18 months until you can go ahead and play the game as it's fully intended. In this, they said they were going to fix things like the progression that they would have in there to unlock certain cosmetics and everything. And they're going to do other things. I believe they're going to put in a single player mode as well when it comes to this game. It really leaves a bad taste in my mouth, specifically when it comes to this game, because if you paid money for this, you didn't unlock everything, or if you didn't do as much as you could in the game, you essentially have not only a dead game, you have an unusable game, unless you unlock everything, bring your friends over, play the game, which is not what the game was intended to be. So I have a major issue with this. This is really bad. I don't understand why they don't do what like Gwent did. When Gwent went from open beta to full release, they didn't update the game, but you could still play the game. You can still play the game online with other people. I know one's a card game, another's a fighting game, but if you're not updating the game's mechanics and the ways, and you're not updating the fighters and everything, getting new fighters, why not just keep it online so other people can play it and play with their purchase and play with their friends while they wait for the game to be in full release? I don't get the aspect of actually pulling the entire game out so you can't play it. That's the thing that is like that really bugs me. I get that you want to do a full release and it might take some time to do that. I understand that. That's fine. But when it comes to then saying, okay, well, we're going to do that, so we're going to pull the game from shelves. We're not going to allow you to play the game as it's intended, but you can play it in this offline mode that it wasn't what the game was made to do, but you can do that if you want. At this point, it just seems like not only is it a dead game, it's an unplayable game at this point. But they won't issue refunds because they say they're coming back. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here, okay? I believe that it will come back. But if you are of the mindset that they're just going to slow roll this and cancel this, so when you forget about it, I don't blame you on that. Because that was another thought I had when I was talking to somebody about this too, was there is the distinct possibility that what they could do is they went ahead and shut off the online stuff, have the client only on local so you can play anything that you unlocked, and then as time goes by and you stop hearing about it and you stop hearing about everything that's going on with the game and you're hearing no updates, then suddenly sometime next year, probably in September when everyone's forgotten about it, they quietly announce a cancellation and then that's it. That is a possibility what might happen. And I'm going to choose to believe that they're not going to do that they're going to go by their word and release this fully. But let's be honest here. If this was doing really good business and people were really enjoying it and wanted to play it and there was a vibrant fan base that was enjoying this game, I don't think they would do this. They would probably keep the game running while they're not updating the game so people can play it and they can continue to make money. This sounds like to me that the business of this game and the base that was playing it was dwindling faster and faster, and it wasn't making enough money. Because if it was making money, they wouldn't do this. It is kind of telling to a certain extent. To me, it kind of sounds like not only are people, I guess, not thrilled with the state the game is in right now, but it's also not making the money that WB Games was thinking it was going to. So either this is going to be the Hail Mary attempt where they pull the game and try to improve it drastically enough to get people back when it comes back next year, or, again, they pull it, say they're going to fix it, but then quietly cancel it, let's say in another year or so, when people have forgotten about the game. Because this leads to another issue that I have, another question. What exactly are they going to do when this game comes out of quote-unquote open beta and goes into its full release mode? By that point, you now have a 2-year-old game that you now have to re-announce, and you have to reinvest money in for marketing to get more gamers to go ahead and try again. And you would have to drastically change it to get people excited to play Multiversus again. Because let's face it, if you were interested in Multiversus, you played it in June of last year, and you have your thoughts on what you think the game is and how you think the game is. And it's going to take a lot for you to change that. It's going to take a lot for gamers to change their mind on what they think Multiversus is. How are you going to make it interesting enough for people to want to go ahead and try it again? And for the ones that have purchased stuff on that and maybe have forgotten about it by that time, how are you going to bring those people back without not making them feel like they were just burned for their purchase and for their time when you pulled the game out when they could have been playing it all along? To me, business-wise, this is a bad move, because all you're now doing is putting in the minds of people that maybe would have given this a chance that at any point in time you can pull this right out. They need to do something if they're doing this way. Not be surprised if the backlash is so swift with the people who still play this game that in a week or so they announce, you know what, we're not going to take it off. They're not going to take it on the online off. We'll keep that on for our fans, just to not get a backlash. Or I'll even put it this way: if there isn't a backlash, I think that is the sign the entire time that there's no fan base here. Because if I was playing this a lot and I've made a lot of purchase on this, I would be pissed right now that not only are you taking off online, which is the vast majority of the game, and I think the only way that you can earn stuff in the game is by playing it online, that not only you're taking that off, you've now said you're not refunding me. So now I have just wasted X amount of money on a game that now I can't do anything with. I can't even play with online with friends. You're telling me I can only do it local, but I can't earn anything local. So in this aspect, I think, honestly, for player-first games and with WB, you need to rethink this. If you are not going to update the game for a long period of time, fine. I get that. That's perfectly fine. I understand that. But to then turn around and say, well, we're going to turn off the cash shop, we're going to turn off the shop itself, and then we're going to turn off online play, that is a bad move. And it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth of people who have been loyal to playing your game. And it's going to be really hard to get those players back when that time comes. So I'm hoping that they reverse course on that part specifically. But from what I've heard with player-first games and WB games when it comes to multiverses, they're not really listening to the fans too much. We will see on that one. Well, that is it for this episode of Capital Games. Tune in next time where we talk about the going-ons and happenings of the video game industry. I am The Wiz. Talk to you next time. Bye.